time with me, your girl, Cassandra Renee, ready to start the day. I'm just turning into regular old Miss Dr. Seuss over here. I guess we're just going to roll with it because it happens. You're here, TQN, the Quarantine Network, with your girl, Cassandra Renee, aka Wild Blossom Beacon Coaching. Oh, I almost got that pretty level this time. It's Wednesday, in case you didn't know. And Wednesday is where we talk about what's maybe not working. So for all of you who's up, who are my rising shiners? Everyone's sleeping in this morning, it looks like. Come on now. I dragged myself out of bed. Where are you? Well, when you get here, chime in the comments. Let me know who you are, where you're tuning in from, and tell me, let's celebrate what is working for you during quarantine. And let's also talk about what's maybe not working so much. All right, we got one person tuning in. Awesome. So what's not working Wednesday? What maybe is, what maybe isn't. So we're going to celebrate what is working and talk about what's not working and help you find solutions about how you can start to turn it into ways to work for you. So while I am waiting for your comments, we're just going to dive right in so we can wrap up Forgiveness Week possibly a little early, like a couple days early. I don't know. We'll see. Depends on you. I'm all here for you, holding space to help you with whatever it is that you have a need for. So while you guys are typing in, letting me know who you are, where you're tuning in from, and what is working for you so we can celebrate it and possibly give other people ideas so that they can use what's working for you and see if it works for them, or talk about what's not working for you so we can give you some insight into ways that might be able to shift and get that to work for you. While you guys are typing that in, let's start out with another quote by the good doctor, the other good doctor, not just Dr. Seuss, but Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. It's like two wrongs don't make a right kind of deal. It's like very similar to his quote yesterday, where he who is devoid of the power to forgive is devoid of the power to love. So you can't, and it also corresponds with Einstein's quote of you cannot, well, this is a paraphrase, I suppose, but you cannot solve a problem going into it with the same line of thinking that created the problem in the first place, right? So when you're in a negative mindset and you're bumming out about things, commiserating with the negativity has its time and place because it helps you feel seen and heard and validated. And it helps you to experience the feelings, especially in instances where maybe those feelings were stifled. So that does have its place, but to stay there and to wallow in that does not have a place any way, shape, or form. Not cool, not playing with it. So when you find yourself in these perpetual states of, when it rains, it pours. Why do these things keep happening to me? You typically are in that frame of mindset, right? Just like if you are shopping for a particular car, I know I use this example all the time, but it's very common. You're shopping for a particular type of vehicle, and all of a sudden you see that vehicle everywhere. It's in your conscious awareness, so you're bringing it to you. Your subconscious is doing the Google filter search, and it's pulling up everything to bring it to your awareness consciously. So when you are focusing on the negative aspects, maybe just a negative in one particular area, but if you're consciously fixating on that, then subconsciously, like Facebook ad suggestions. Oh, I hear that you were talking about being sad about something. here's more things to be sad about, right? Right? Did I do good? Did I do the right thing? Huh? Yeah? That's what you wanted, right? Because that's where we were going. So when you are looking for ways to be happy and you're looking for ways to release and forgive someone or something, you're not going to find it by continuing to commiserate and continuing to relive your anxiety, your fears, to keep telling your story. Now, there's a difference when telling your story has an empowering message to it. And by retelling that story, you're empowering others. But that only happens when you come out on the other side of it, because that's where the empowerment comes in. Like, hey, I was down here, but I made it up here. Here's how you can do it, right? So if you're just stuck in the valley of that story and you haven't quite made it up over that mountain or hill yet, then you're still stuck attempting to drive something out you're trying to drive this darkness out with darkness. And that's why forgiveness is that elixir that alleviates it. It's that medicine, that light. Because you are giving back the pain and the sadness and the suffering to the entity or to the situation or to the circumstance. And not necessarily projecting it onto that other person, but you're saying, I'm not going to own this any longer. This has been living rent-free inside of me, and I'm kicking it out. It's being evicted. It doesn't belong here. And so holding on to anger, not forgiving, and even if you don't feel like you're angry about it, but you haven't let it go, you haven't proactively forgiven, for having a Latin base, meaning ahead of time, proactively, taking action to give it back, to release of the binds it has on you. For everything that irritates you and upsets you and annoys you and hurts you and makes you sad, that you let slide, unless you have Windexed your entire body, unless it truly is rolling off, it's going somewhere. Over time, it builds up. So if you're the kind of person who has a bit of a martyr complex or a bit of a slave complex where you have to work really hard for just crumbs, whether it be crumbs of affection, crumbs of love, of money, of, name it, work hard for very little return. If any of these start resonating with you, going back to the physical ailments, if you have respiratory issues, stomach issues, stuff like that, start thinking about all the people, the things, the situations, yourself included, we will get there, that you could forgive, even for something that might sound stupid or silly, because topically, consciously, we might have been conditioned to think it doesn't matter, it's not that important, like it shouldn't really affect me. But little do you know, deep below the surface, that little child within is running the show because it hurt them. And so they put up these walls, they put up these blocks and said, all right, this is how I'm going to operate. I'm going to put on this medieval times armor suit, and that's how I'm going to go through life whenever this situation occurs. This is how I'm going to revert on autopilot to, because that's how it got me through everything thus far. And so, that's part of growing, right? We physically grow and certain articles of clothing don't fit us anymore. Well, emotionally and mentally, we grow, and certain attitudes and mindsets and protective measures that we've had as children don't necessarily fit us anymore. Hey, Kimberly, my love. Welcome, welcome. I want to give a shout out to Kimberly Kowalski, who's watching. Not only is she one of my best friends, but she is an RN and she just went back to work yesterday, and we were chatting a little bit. It was a little rough on her. So, and of course, she's been communicating with all of her fellow brethren that are out in the service and helping everyone out. But yesterday was her first time of really getting back in the trenches and seeing firsthand, and it was rough on her. And love to you and everyone you work with, and thank you for doing what you do. We appreciate you. Anywho, so back on the forgiveness aspect. So getting messages already. Good morning. So back to the forgiveness aspect of I'll get there. Hang on one second. All the things that you have kind of let slide and not taken time to actively forgive, as you go through and get really good at forgiving and you go through the processes, you'll be able to honestly think of a situation, breathe in peace, let go breathe out the past, and be done with it. And there's some things that you can even do right now, which today's practice should be able to get you to be able to see how easy it can go. So we started kind of at like novice level, stayed there, and then we're going to dip into like easy street today before we go into the more difficult ones as we progress. So this way you can kind of get a taste of like, oh, okay, it can be this easy. Go back later today, play with some of the situations that you might have wrote down the past couple of days, and then move forward tomorrow. That's how I structured this. So with all the tensions and the emotional buildups and the sadness and the annoyances, it's all got to go somewhere, and it goes somewhere physically. So when we are growing and we're physically outgrowing clothing, but we're mentally still we're still mentally putting on that medieval armor that fit us as a 5-year-old. It doesn't fit us as a 28-year-old, as a 30-year-old, as a 40-year-old. It doesn't fit us. And so it's time to kind of reassess, reevaluate what processes am I using to look at the world? What lenses am I using to view the world? And what tools am I or am I not using, or do I not even have yet, to allow me to let go of what's been harboring inside of me to get me to this point? These are the keys to keep you young. This is like the fountain of youth secret, guys. Forgiveness is mega. Forgiveness and gratitude. Because with these, you are doing your own self-care. You are literally rejuvenating your bodily cells. You are literally pumping life and vitality and renewal back into your system and relieving and alleviating yourself of years and years of pain and anguish that you might not have even consciously, topically realized you had inside of you. So, harboring on to these sad stories, these things, and let's be real for a second, right? A lot of it has formed our identity. I've heard stories of people going to weddings, and for 45 minutes, they've sat down and heard this woman speaking about how sad she is, that she's lonely and she's been divorced and she's like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so sorry, because it sounded so recent. Turns out she'd been divorced for like 25 plus years. And the story, it was so traumatic that this story was like resonating in with her, either being at this wedding, like re-triggered her or what, but like she identified, like she introduced herself as a divorcee. And she just like, that was her identity. She carried it with her. And so many of us look at who we were in high school or beyond that, and we haven't allowed ourselves to graduate past that. as far as who and what we identify ourselves as. Maybe still having the jock mentality, maybe still having the Little Miss Perfect mentality, maybe still having, for better or worse, I'm not judging here. But it's time to see, is this still serving me in my life? Are there areas in my life that could be improved upon? And if so, which no one's perfect, so my guess is the answer is yes. What new tools can I try on? Maybe it's still a coat of armor. Maybe you're not ready to take that armor off yet, but maybe it's a bigger size. Maybe it's not the 7-year-old size. Maybe it's the 34-year-old size, at least. So by practicing different ways of forgiveness and tapping into this, it can be hard, it can be rough. And hey, if you need to take like the rest of the day off to go like journal, to take a nap, to take a bath, like I'm going to be really real with you guys. I've had a rough couple of weeks between, having my friend pass away, having had bad news about my own physical health, having had new emotional breakthroughs with my own relationship with my mother. I've had to take some mental health days for myself, and I've had to just draw a bath and just do nothing the rest of the day. I've had to just take time to nope, no more personal development, no more books. Maybe I have to numb out and watch BoJack Horseman and just numb out. Or maybe I have to, whatever it is you have to do, maybe you just have to take a nap, hang out in the sun. Like personal development, and especially forgiveness, not easy. If it was, everyone would be running around with these Norman Rockwell, beautiful, gorgeous lives. And the thing is we think that everyone else has those but us. Truth is, most people don't have them. But it's possible to get them if that's what you desire. But you have to go through the work. It's scary, it's difficult, it's not easy. But when you get through to the other side, that's what makes it worth it. So it's worth going through these valleys to have these mountains. And the more you trudge through it, the less of a roller coaster it becomes. The less valleys you have to dip through, the less mountains you have to climb, the more it starts evening out. Yes, it's been a roller coaster of a month for me personally, and I'm sure for you as well. And these are unprecedented times, but these are the tools that you can use to dig deep and not get into so low a valley. Okay? So just to repeat, and hi, Christina Marie. Thank you for all the love. I saw that. So just to repeat his quote, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. So going back to the forgiveness process, acknowledge it, acknowledge the situation, acknowledge your feelings. You are validated in your feelings. If you felt low or in a dark place, acknowledge that. If you felt hatred, rage, sadness, remorse, whatever it was that you felt, feel it. Don't relive it, but definitely go ahead and allow yourself to feel it. Acknowledge it. That's the first step. Then you can start to process it. Because so often we're told that we have to suppress it and that our feelings are not validated, or you're smart enough, justify it. Think about it from their perspective, and it just teaches us to take your feelings, douse yourself with Windex, shove them down there, whatever it takes. Your feelings are not valid. Your voice doesn't matter. Shush. And so often that's what's been told to us, and it's so not the case. So allow yourself to feel it, and then we'll move on. So before we get into the next phase in my forgiveness process, let's go back through those affirmations again, because they're helpful, especially when it comes to forgiveness. I am understanding. I am forgiving. When I forgive, it is final. I breathe in peace and breathe out the past. The past does not determine my future. I am compassionate. I forgive wholly and completely. I let go of whatever no longer serves me. And just to put a quick pin in two of those, I let go of whatever no longer serves me. That's like the 7-year-old's suit of armor doesn't fit the 34-year-old. Either buy a bigger pair, buy a bigger size, or better yet, let's try something else on. Maybe a little less medieval. And the past does not determine my future. Huge. When I first heard that concept, my whole life just like shifted. My world like shifted on its axis. Like, whoa. Because they say, the whole point of learning about history is so that you don't repeat it. And yet, we take our own personal history and we're so focused on not wanting to repeat it. We spend so much energy trying to not be like our parents or not make the same mistakes we made in the past. And yet we find ourselves making those mistakes. Or remember that avoidance or that running towards, right? We're either spending our lives avoiding pain to then receive pleasure because we're not receiving pain, or we're charging towards pleasure because we were conditioned that, if I act in this certain way, or if I behave or achieve this, I will receive praise and pleasure. So I'm going to live my life doing that. Or, I shined too brightly, or I'm too much of this. I guess I should just not, because I don't like the criticism. So when I'm less of myself, then I don't get the criticism. So I like that. So yay. That was the past. Breathe in peace. Breathe out the past. If you plan your future based off the past actions. Well, my ex did this, so I'm afraid you will do this. You don't like it when that's said to you. Why do you say that to other people? Because your response is, I'm not your ex. What do you think your future is saying to you? I've got all this awesome stuff ahead of you, waiting for you. But you keep wanting to hang out there, right? Consciously, mentally, you say verbally, and this is when your thoughts, your words, and your actions have to be aligned, right? Consciously and verbally, you're saying you desire all these awesome things. And yet, you're still thinking, you're still operating with that past mentality, right? The thoughts that created the problem, which are surely not going to create the solution. They're not going to get you to this great future I have planned for you if you're working and dwelling on that past. If you're still hating on that instance, if you haven't forgiven, if you haven't let go of what happened. So you have to forgive. You have to drop it. You have to reconcile internally. You don't have to reconcile the situation, the argument, whatever happened. And if you were a victim, I'm not taking that away from you. But you no longer have to play the victim. Now you can play the survivor. Now you can play the hero or heroine, right? It's your choice. And forgiveness is your tool. So, this one's easy, guys. Forgiving in situations. Now, these situations are when it has to do with things so we talked about people that you genuinely love, and we talked about people that you know, right? So we started here and we went here, so we're getting a little bit easier. Today's the easiest one. These are things that typically you have no control over, and There are also things that you're probably never going to encounter again. So these include, so if you haven't already, please go ahead and grab your journals. Weather-related things, interactions with strangers, maybe something someone did, but you didn't see them do it, but it affected you anyway. So like, well, gee, I don't know, the coronavirus. Maybe you are one of the fortunate few who still doesn't know anyone personally who's been affected by it physically. Yet we've all somehow been affected by it, whether it's our work has been affected, our pay has been affected, emotions, whatnot. Like, so that's a big one, right? We're going to just put that in a box right here, and we'll touch on that one together collectively in a minute. But like weather related things. So maybe it hailed, or there's a big storm and a tree fell on your car. So in addition to the financial damage and insurance claims and all that, whatever plans you had, however you were going to get to where you're going to get, be it work or whatever, like that's maybe not canceled because there's alternate forms of transportation, but now there's a snag in that, right? Well, you can't blame anybody, but the weather, I guess you could shake your fist at God or Mother Nature or something like that, but does it behoove you to be angry about it? What is that going to solve anything? Remember, we talked about that category, things I can control and things that I cannot. These are things that you cannot control. Like every single thing in this category is something you cannot control. So if you can't control it, why is it important to forgive it? Because it still affected you in some way, shape, or form. It still bothered you. And if it bothered you, it's some part of you tensed up, which means some form of a toxin built up somewhere and went somewhere. And you get enough of those. Cancer is a buildup of additional cells. Granted, rapidly building, but play with me here, right? So dis-ease, no longer at ease. You get enough times of feeling stressed, annoyed, angry, perturbed, frustrated. You get enough of those emotions, that's where you get high blood pressure. That's where you get nervous disorders. That's where you get panic attacks. That's where you get all kinds of other very, very, very common situations, let alone other ailments that we might not find out about until later in life. And they say it's age related. Guys, think about the correlation. The longer you live, the more times you have to experience situations, good and less than favorable. The more exposure you have to less than favorable situations, AKA the more times you tense up, get angry, get frustrated, get annoyed, get ticked off, the more times your body tenses up. And the less times you forgive, typically, for many of you, this might be the first time you're ever even hearing a concept like this, let alone the first time you've ever practiced forgiving outside of situations with people that you genuinely care about and wish to reconcile with, let alone forgiving the weather. Spacey hippie, I know. But yeah, age-related dis-eases, the longer you've been around, the longer you've had repressed feelings, the longer you've had these less than happy emotions, even if you've had just as many happy emotions, if you have not released the less than awesome emotions, they had to go somewhere. They stayed and they built up. And then they manifested whatever age-related affliction, dis-ease, condition, malady you have. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I see a correlation here. So, yes, we're going to forgive the weather. So, that's something like, hail, ice, something weather related where it canceled your plans, it physically damaged something. You slipped on a patch of black ice, that sucks. If anyone's from the north, northeast, it's happened. Several tailbone industries, I was about to say, injuries. Yep. Interactions with strangers. This is my total go-to, and I actually sort of kind of messaged, I touched on it for a second in a previous episode, and we'll definitely dive into it today. Let's say you're in line grabbing your coffee before you go to work, and somebody just bumps into you, spills their coffee all over you, and doesn't even apologize, just looks at you like, and just runs away. And you're just like, are you freaking kidding me? First, you're just like, ow, because it's hot coffee. And then, like, the fact that you didn't get an apology or anything, like, you're pissed. And now you don't have time to go to work, to go back home and change. So now, like, either you're going to be late to work if you go home and change, or you're going to go into work, you've got a stained shirt. Like, for most of us, it's like, great, day ruined before it even started. And for even more of us, the meaning making machine is probably already there justifying, yep, I knew it this morning when I woke up. I should have just slept in. I knew it, like, right? Your day probably started off bad before that even happened, or so you thought. There's an example. And something somebody else did, but you didn't see it, but you were still affected. That could be something like a stolen package from your doorstep, or somebody, like, on a couple of occasions actually, living in different cities. So it definitely wasn't the same person. I've had my mirror on my car, like, smashed. Like the passenger, like, rearview mirror just smashed. So I, like, came out, went to go to work, and I'm like, oh, great. So call in a insurance vandalism claim and $500 deductible, get the mirror fixed. Like, that sucks. And you're like, man, why does this stuff happen to me? And why am I being a victim? It's not happening to you. It's happening for you. Okay. So you have your list of, like, situations like this, whether it be weather related, interactions with strangers, something that clearly, unless it was a bear, unless you live in, like, Colorado or Montana or something, and, like, a bear or a wild horse came and, like, took the mirror off your car, which is totally possible. It could totally be wilderness related. Maybe your dog ate your homework, or your dog did something. Like, it could totally be something like that. Just a situation. Well, the dog would actually more than likely fall under the category of someone you love, so maybe we won't include that one. But and if any of you guys have these situations that you'd like assistance with and you want to get creative with, please type them in the comments. I'm more than happy to interact with you and get those ready to be forgiven. So let's go with my favorite one. Let's go with the interaction with a stranger, like bumping into you in the coffee shop, right? So first, you start off with acknowledging the situation. Okay, so this happened, right? And you acknowledge your feelings about it. Now, for any of these, if the feelings are still, like, very hot If they are still pretty fresh and they're really upsetting, I mentioned this in the first episode about how to take yourself out of it. Maybe turn it into a cartoon or a comic book strip or something where it's not so personal. Maybe you see it as a cartoon. Like think of your favorite, like I don't know, maybe The Simpsons or BoJack Horseman or something that you could watch as like a sitcom or something and kind of giggle about. Because it's much easier to see and handle and adjust with if you can take yourself out of victim mode. And the easiest way to take yourself out of victim mode is to take yourself out of the equation altogether. You know, like you've often found yourself in situations like you can laugh about it later, or, you know, yeah, I could see how this could be funny if it wasn't happening to me. That's true. So you acknowledge the situation, you acknowledge your feelings, validate your feelings. You don't have to go into justify spin, just I felt this way. You can write down the feelings you felt. And then you look at the situation. This happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. Is there anything that I could have done to prevent this situation from happening? Maybe I could have I did oversleep, and so I did get to the coffee shop late. Now, this is not about beating yourself up or putting the blame on you whatsoever. It's just brainstorming. Is there something I could have done that could have prevented this? Maybe I was daydreaming and it was my turn to go and I didn't go. And had I paid attention and I taken a step sooner, I would have completely seen that person coming, and I would have, maybe that person running into me was partially my fault because I wasn't paying attention. Maybe. Again, not putting the blame on you, not beating yourself up for it, just a maybe. Now, if you can look at the situation and definitely, like clear as a bell, 100% look at it and be like, holy crap, I've been angry at this person. I've been angry at the weather. I've been angry, and it's like, whoa, I'm actually 100% to blame here. And yet I've been crying Chicken Little, the sky is falling. I've been saying that I'm the victim, but holy crap, I had something to do with this. Everything happens for you, not to you. When you can reflect on things like this, maybe it's your wake-up call to be more present in life. What other areas could you be more present in? Maybe not just your lack of presence in the coffee shop, but maybe your lack of presence at work, in your relationship with your friends. Is there something there for you? That's how God, Spirit, the universe, that's how it communicates with you. Subtly. Gotta be in tune. Okay, so we've gone through all the possibilities, and no, honestly, that was unavoidable. I have no idea how I could have avoided this situation. Like, I literally watched this person, and I even stepped out of their way, and yet they did this some weird like stutter step and still ran into me. Like, there was literally no way I could have avoided this. Cool, I hear you. Next step. What about them? And this is where we create a story for them. And you can make it fun. For whatever reason, this works for me. I am a bleeding heart by nature. So this is what works. This is the story I tell myself that works and gets me. Maybe while that person was waiting for their drink, they got a call or a text saying that a loved one was in the hospital or something bad had just happened. And their whole day, their whole plan just done, gone out, like cannot even, right? They're not even physically, like mentally, they're checked out. Mentally, they are in that hospital room with whoever's in there, or they are reliving the last thing they said to that person or whatever, like bad. They are physically, they don't even see anything around them. They are not in that coffee shop. And they literally didn't even see you. Even if you saw them, even if you said, hey, watch out, hey, don't hit me, you could have possibly even touched them to try to like, hey, and they like just, have you ever had an experience like that where you're just like, I hope you never do, but something where tragedy has just struck and you are just gone, like cannot be in that moment. And so fast forward, they get to the hospital, everything, thank goodness everything's fine. False alarm, whatever, but oh my gosh, biggest scare of their life. And they start thinking about their day like, oh my gosh, like, I got the news, I was in the coffee shop and oh my gosh, I totally just, oh man, now I feel bad. I ran into this person and I spilled like half of my drink all down them and they must think I'm a total jerk. Like I never even said sorry. And I just rushed out the door like, oh man. If that were you. Now, especially in my punk rock phase, and even now, you cannot let the opinions of other people affect you, right? Like, okay, if that person thinks I'm a jerk, they think I'm a jerk, whatever. I got bad news. I freaked out. I'm human. I had a human moment. I handled it. But you would still wish, if anyone's going to have an opinion of you, you would like them to have a positive one. But if they don't, they don't. That's how I always live my life. But having that bit of compassion and that bit of empathy, like, man, I would not want them to think poorly of me. And I feel bad that I spilled my coffee on them. If only they knew like what my situation was, like they would understand. So it's getting creative, putting yourself, now you could think of a million different other explanations. I don't know why that one comes to my mind. That works for me. It pulls at my heartstrings and I'm just like, yes, okay, I'm not mad that you spilled coffee on me. It's fine. It's just go make sure everything's fine. Like that works for me. So, hey Rob, thanks for being here. So it's just putting yourself in someone else's shoes. Whether those shoes are fictitious or not, it's seeing why or how they could have been driven to be or do what ended up creating that situation. So very similar to that, when something happens where somebody did something that you didn't see them do, like they stole the package off your doorstep or they vandalized your car or something like that. I go back to the story of Rapunzel. Or no, not Rapunzel. Sleeping Beauty. Whichever the story was where the firstborn child was taken as payment because, and this is the part of the story that people forget. So whether it was Rapunzel or Sleeping Beauty actually doesn't matter. What matters is how she came to be in the witch's care. And it was because her mother was deathly ill and they had fallen on hard times. They had no more food. And the father had gone into the witch's garden, had plenty of produce, lettuce or something. And he had to go in there to get it, or it might have even been like a magical thing that would cure her. Point is, he was driven to the point of desperation and he had no other alternative. And he felt that he had to go and take something. He knew it wasn't his, but it was the only recourse that he had available. I'm not justifying stealing, but it was the only recourse he had available to be able to provide for his wife, to have her survive through the night or whatever the case was. And is stealing wrong? Yes. Would he have been better served if he said, hey, could you help me? Here's my dire straits. Yes, of course. Then yes, I already hear it. It's better to ask for forgiveness than to beg for permission. I've also lived my life by those principles with certain people. I also understand that. I'm big on communication, so I get that. But not everybody is, right? Not everybody's at that same place, which is why you get yourself to that place of compassion. So let's say somebody stole the package off your doorstep. Well, in times such as this, or it happens a lot around Christmas, right? Easily, the thought process goes to that trying to steal my stuff so they can resell it and make a bigger buck, these shysty people. Or it could be some desperate person who doesn't have any money to buy food, let alone gifts. Took a chance, saw an opportunity to possibly make some money or have a gift for their kid. It's not right. And you and I could give them 100 reasons and opportunities to make money and abilities to avoid that situation, sure. But this goes back to, if I were you, I would, no, you wouldn't. If you were me, you'd do exactly what I already did. Because with my upbringing, with my mental state where it is at that moment in time, with all the other pressures that I've got going on that you know nothing about, this is what I ended up doing. For better or worse, right or wrong, I did what I did. So see how forgiveness, it doesn't require you to reconcile the situation. Like, you're not going to get that package back. You're going to be out that money to pay for your damaged mirror. But to come up with something that gives you peace of mind. Whenever I've had things stolen from me, my go-to is, you know what? I had the money to order that thing. And I'm grateful that I had the money to order that. I may not have the money to order that thing again now, but I had it at that time. And I'm going to presume that this person didn't. And I hope that whatever this person is getting from having taken this from me, I hope that they get what they need out of it. I'm going to presume that they needed the money more than I needed this thing. And let it be my gift to them. Am I making myself a martyr out of the situation? Kinda. I'm not asking to be a martyr and I'm not asking to draw more of that to me, but is it my way of making peace with the situation and forgiving, resolving, forgiving, taking that pain and that sadness away from me and putting it back out there? Yes. So again, step one, recall the situation, acknowledge your feelings, ask yourself, is there any possible thing that you could have done that might have created the situation? And if so, come to terms with that. And it's kind of like that, if yes, then boom, done, right? Like then that was on me, my bad, and I can let it go. If not, the next step is to cultivate the story. Like, okay, what could it be on their end? What could possibly have happened to create this situation to have occurred that I could then look at and be like, got it. You know what? If I was in the position that you were in, I get it. I would not want to be looked at. I wouldn't want to have a grudge held against me. I can forgive that. It's not saying that you actually have this conversation with that person. And in this, forgiving the situations, chances are you're never going to see this person again, or you never even saw the person to begin with. So you're never going to have the opportunity to forgive them face to face, which is why this is such a great exercise and why it's so important, because you can do this literally 20 times a day, every single day for the rest of your life, and still have more situations and things and people to forgive, because life happens and it doesn't always go the way that you would like it to go. And this is the exercise that I actually recommend you do every day for at least a couple of weeks, because this is the exercise that's going to get you to instantaneous forgiveness, where some jerk cuts you off in traffic, and instead of letting you grumble about that and set into negative motion the rest of the day, you can literally just be like, you know what? Person was probably they're worried about something. Boom, you know what? I forgive you. And your day continues to go on and be rosy and awesome. Like, this is how you get to that point, because you're able to cultivate rapid compassion for other people immediately. This is why when I got rammed into and have brain damage now as a result, months later, I'm still on I'm not mad at this person. I'm not playing the victim. When he, like, the second my head bounced back from my car seat and I regained consciousness, I was like, I'm not mad. I forgive this dude. It sucked, but everything's going to be fine. Like, this is how I was able to do that right then and there. It's possible. And trust me, it makes your life so much better. And this isn't going around as ignorance is bliss and rose-colored glasses. I mean, they're kind of with the rose-colored glasses, but it's not going around with this false sense of reality. It's going around with just, it's not my burden to carry around. It's not my poison to drink. I'm not drinking it. It's not mine. It's spitting out all the rest of the poison that doesn't need to be there. So, 2 more things I promised I'd touch on, and then I'm going to get to your comments, Rob, I promise. Thank you for commenting, by the way. So, how do we forgive Mother Nature, right? How do we forgive weather-related things? How do we justify that? That goes back to everything happens for you, not to you. I can't tell you the amount of times I have been late and within moments missed accidents that could have killed me. In fact, there was one time where I actually don't remember why I was running late, but the same exact car, the same exact color, on the same exact route that I was going, with a male and female around the same ages as me and my boyfriend at the time, rear-ended a semi. I was driving a Mercury Topaz, dark blue Mercury Topaz. And I was coming up from picking up my boyfriend in Elmira, New York, bringing him back to where I lived in Nunde, New York. And we were running late. And I guess there was like some like, I don't know. There was a bit of weather happening upstate New York. You never know. There was a bit of weather happening. And my cell phone was blowing up. My mom and my grandma were calling me. And I was ignoring it because we were talking and listening to the radio and having fun. And I finally answered it, and they're like, oh my God, thank God you guys are okay. And I'm like, yeah, why? And they told us about the accident. Well, shortly after they told us, we drove past it. The semi, perfectly intact. The car, halfway under under the semi. So they were just chopped off from, like, I don't know, here. Just same car, same color, same ages, male and female. One of my mentors Danielle Laporte says, sometimes procrastination is divine intervention. I own my tardiness because on more than one occasion that has saved my life. Now, is that exactly weather related? No, but something to consider. So everything happening for you, not to you. Weather related issues. So there's a storm and it, causes a tree to fall on your car, damages your car. Great. Insurance payments went up. Now I can't get to where I'm going, yada, yada, yada. Are you still around to be mad at the situation? Yeah? Great. Could that have been prevented in any way, shape, or form? No, I can't prevent a tree falling on my car. Okay. You can't prevent the tree from falling on your car, but has that tree been bothering you for a while? Have you been meaning to cut that tree down? Or have you been meaning to build a garage? Or do you normally park your car there? Look at the situation around. I promise you there's always a lesson to be learned, especially when it's weather-related things. There's something in there for you. It's a gift. And when you see the gift in it, then you can have the forgiveness. Or sometimes you can only have the forgiveness when you see the gift. So it's important to start putting your Nancy Drew spyglass up to the test and looking at the situation when it's a weather-related one. So it's a little bit different. Feel your feelings, be valid, be justified, and then ask yourself, what could I have done for this to not have happened? And I promise you, even if you've exhausted every opportunity, what could I have done so this would not have happened? If you don't find your answer in that, look at what happened. Just the facts, ma'am. Take the emotions out of it. Look at it from a bird's eye view. What can you get out of it? You know how if you're looking at it from a negative point of view, you're going to see more negative things? Flip the switch. And sometimes I mentally have to picture myself flipping a switch. Like sometimes you literally need that mental visual and it's like, oh, hello. Okay, now the light's been turned on. Oh, you know what? Hey, I'm going to get insurance payments. I'm going to get a new car out of this. Hey, you know what? I got to take the rest of the day off work. Amazing. I got to work from home. Like when you find the gifts, positivity breeds positivity, just the same as negativity breeds negativity. It just has a higher boiling temperature. Once you get it there, it boils and it cooks and it makes the beautiful food that you want to eat. You just have to get it there. And that's the beauty of looking at and working to forgive situations that are out of your control. So I said we put a pin in the coronavirus. Taking that exact same scenario, what are the gifts that you can get out of the coronavirus? What are the beautiful lessons? And I want to know about it. Please send me DMs because I know I'm running out of time here. Type it in the comments, send me DMs. I want to know. You guys already send me messages and I love it. And I'm so appreciative of it. I love that you guys send me messages telling me like what you liked about my show, what you learned, everything like that. So thank you. You guys keep donating. I really appreciate that. It's in the comments if you feel compelled to donate. I so love and appreciate you guys for that. Or if you want to work with me more, you can book a free clarity call so we can set a success plan for you. And I've got the 66 days of PMA coming up that you can join. It starts next Monday. Message me if you'd like more information on how to get involved with that. And I have a free webinar coming up. If you didn't get in on it last week, don't worry. Free webinar is this Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can send me a DM. You just need your email to get in for it because it's going to be on a Zoom. So real quick, forgiveness is tough, no doubt, but no reason to keep it on your brain. At the moment, it's tough. It's tougher though. Yeah, no, it's absolutely tougher. And I am here for you if you want to talk about that and work through it, Rob. 100%. Not just you, Rob, but anybody. 100%. Yeah, this is the type of stuff I'm working on because people have demons or issues we don't know about. Absolutely. Rob, you want to talk? I'm here for you. Send me a message, buddy. And for all of you watching recorded or live, same thing. You want to talk? You have questions? You've got something on your mind that you've been working through? I am here for you, my friends. So that is my time. But again, I've got lots of opportunities to work with you, free and less free alike. So hit me up. I look forward to working with you and seeing all of your beautiful reviews and whatnot. So again, let me know what you're working on for giving right now so I can help you with that, because it's huge and it is a game changer, I promise you. As always, guys, cough into your elbow, wash your hands, and stay home. I love y'all.